Alright. So yeah, this is a very good video, but they blocked it because of that rubbish radio that was playing in the background, I'm guessing. And I was in the workshop and I did not turn the radio on, and I wasn't about to go turn it off for my recording. And I think it's copyright claim, so they blocked it. So I've decided to re-record it and stuff with commentary. So right now I'm just trying to take off the engine cover, and as you can see, you can't remove it without the removal of the oil cap. So it's I think it was a T25 or a T30 if I remember rightly. So there's one nut, that one there that I'm just showing you, and then obviously you take off the oil cap. Don't leave the oil cap off for long, just take it off just to get rid of the engine cover. And as you can see there, you've got the ignition coils. Title of the video should make it clear what it is. It's so that, like I say, put the oil cap back, because if you were to drop something in the hole where you put the oil or the oil fill, whatever, oh wow, I need to keep up with what I'm doing. It's not going to be a good day, because it's probably next to impossible to get anything out that drops in there. And if it's like a little bolt or a screw, it's going straight down, and it's probably got a possibility of destroying the engine, so it's quite a big deal. So yeah, keep the oil cap back on, and after that you've got 4 ignition coils. Not sure what I was saying here, but yeah, there's the airbox, because I'm going to do both. Okay, I think I'm running you through how to remove, like what to do to basically replace the air filter or the induction air filter. So that's just a little red release tab that slides back. You see, that slides back to release, pushes forward to lock. Then you've got the black tab just behind. You can see when you press that in, that then releases the actual plug. Got to give it a bit of a tug, and then that should come out. There's a it's also got a little clip going into the airbox, but I figured out that you don't need to remove that. You do have this pipe. It's got little tabs on each side. You just got to give it a little squeeze. Oh yeah, shout out to the background music, man. This was my choice. This is Corey Red. Back when we was doing music, it was simple, man. You just give out a one shout out and then you can say anything. So yeah, you squeeze the 2 tabs and then you release that. And shout out to Sizzler Kalanji and his team, because I really did put one tune that I actually like. It's one of my background music, so one of the other videos, the shock absorber one. Yeah, they let it go. They're like, yeah, copyright claim. The owners of the music are alright for it to play on YouTube. So big shout out to Scissor, man, because I've been a long time fan. But anyway, let's not get distracted. Airbox, yeah, what we got to do, check out that plug, remove that pipe, rewind the video if you want to see how to do it. It's just those little tabs and it slides up, and then you push it back down and it locks it in place. You need to remove that air intake pipe. Now I think that was it's either a flathead, you can twist it off, or then a 7mm. Get rid of that clamp, like Jubilee clamp type thing, and then you should be able to just slide that pipe off. And after that you've got I think there's about 4 or 5 Phillip head fixings going around the airbox, but we'll get back to that in a minute anyway. So yeah, engine cover out the way, and then we're gonna attack the ignition coils. So that's a 10mm, that's a 10mm, that's a 10mm, that's a 10mm. And as you can see, the 10mm on the 4th one, or the 1st one, depending on the country, is quite covered. So these 10mm, we're going to zip them out quite quickly. I think one thing I was explaining is you don't need to remove the plug from the actual coil. There's more than enough wire for you to bring them out together. As you can see, the 4th one's slightly difficult to access, so there's just a few wires and stuff, just clips and stuff. So I removed all of them because I just wanted to have clean access to the 4th ignition coil and plug. This is Corey Red, man. Very good artist. You should search his tunes and his music. This one's called Corey Red, I Am Legend. So yeah, I'm just using my pry tool to just pry and tweeze out some of those fittings. There weren't too much involved. It should be quite straightforward. And this one, So there's the plug, that's how you remove it. Usually I put a little bit of grease on the end of the ignition coil just to help it when it goes onto the plug. It prevents it from seizing and getting stuck. These ones, they've already got grease on them as well. They probably use the same line of thought as me. What happens sometimes, those ignition coils, especially on older cars, they've been sitting there for long, they can get stuck on the actual ceramic of the plug, and then you're trying to pluck them out, and then you end up, the rubber ends up deteriorating or splitting, and then you need a whole new ignition coil. I think I was saying something along those lines. And then obviously there's ways to remedy it. So now I'm just showing you how to remove the plug. Once again, it's got a little red tab. That's a locking tab. That slides back, and then you can and I think there's a tab. It's hard to see. So it's that little red tab, and then there's a little black tab behind it. You'll see it better when I attack the fourth plug, because that's a better angle, and I knew what I was doing then. But I think I've zoomed in anyway. So you see you've got the yeah, that's right. So the red tab is the locking tab, but then the actual release tab is the black tab behind the red tab. But with the red tab in place, you can't actually push the black tab down to release it. So you slide back the red tab, then you push down the black tab, give it a little bit of a wiggle, it should come. Mine was a bit stiff, and I think I just used a screwdriver. I just hooked it underneath the tab from the front, which is another way to get them off. But unless you're replacing the ignition coils, which is the actual component in my left hand right now, you shouldn't need to take off the plug. As you can see, there's more than enough access for the spark plug now, which is in the bore where that ignition coil has just come from. So there's me removing it with the screwdriver, a little flathead screwdriver, as you can see. Yeah, and I've just lifted it underneath that tab there. But either way that I've told you, that's the way that it's released. So don't get stuck on that. Oh, YouTube, you done me dirty. 28 minutes, 20 more minutes to go. Alright, cool. So yeah, look, see, that's how you get it off. Slide the red one back, and then the back one releases. I think I left the plugs in on the second and the third. Not sure what I was zooming in for here. Oh, okay, so these are just the wiring. Some of the wires, some of the loom that's like fixed into the little brackets above the engine. Now this one's like I was just giving you an example how to take it out. It's kind of like two leaves. So let's say it's coming in that way. Now the way I'm describing, so they come in that way, and then obviously the leaves they come outwards. They form like a triangle, so they anchor against the little hole on the engine bracket. So you just got to push in one side, or pushing both sides together with a pliers, or one side at a time with a screwdriver, and then that should slide out. It was difficult for me to twist. It was under quite a bit of tension, so right now I'm just struggling to twist it to try and show you the example. But even if you were to break it, to be fair, it's not a big deal. You could just wrap it with a cable tie or whatever. But yeah, I was just letting you know how to remove all that. Because you see, once I do remove all these little plugs that are fixed into these brackets, it gives you full access to the fourth ignition coil and spark plug. And if you know me, I prefer to have a lot more space when I'm working, instead of trying to do hidden dragon, crouching tiger, ninja hands through tight gaps. So this is me just getting all the ancillaries out of the way. That one, that wire, so that's just a normal plug. Yeah, I've hooked the little screwdriver just underneath the tab and pulled it out, but you can the release is on the other side where that little red tab is. What was I doing here? Yeah, that one's just like a little clip just pushed in, so I've pried that out. And then yeah, that's all out the way now. And I think on the fourth, so I've zipped out the fourth plug now, that's the 10mm out. So now this fourth one was a little bit sticky, and then I give you an example of how I do hard ignition coil hard removal, which is just what's it called? So I explained it. Like I say, the rubber can get stuck to the ceramic of the spark plug. So then instead of tugging and pulling, trying to twist and plug and tugging and pulling, and that would help it. Usually I just dash a little bit of maintenance spray down the bore. So this is what happens. You have the spark plug and then you have the ignition coil rubber. It sits on top of the plug ceramic like that, and obviously it provides the voltage or whatever, which provides the spark to the engine. So you're trying to you're trying to lift off the ignition coil just like that. So obviously with the heat and that, and then over time and corrosion, you can get that. So it's like, it kind of feels like it's stuck without you seeing what's going on in the bore. You don't know, so you're pulling it, and then obviously the rubber, it's weaker, isn't it? Some of them, and it can break. So what I do, I splash a drop of maintenance spray into the bores, and then by the time there's the maintenance spray, you can't really see it a little bit. Okay, yeah, you can. I zoomed out. So you just find a little gap where the ignition coil's sitting, and then you just give it a little wiggle and stuff. Let the maintenance spray penetrate and do what it needs to. Penetration oil, after all, that's what it's called, isn't it? And then it usually, yeah, like I said in the writing, not too much, mind, because obviously maintenance spray can distort the rubber, which you obviously also don't want. But usually just a little bit. It gets in between where it sits in the plug, and it's a lot easier to remove. That's usually when you get stubborn ones, like hard ones, they ain't been replaced for a long time. This car wasn't that old. I didn't really need it. I was just doing it for example purposes. Oh, perm, copyright, don't try copyright law me. Me and you, we're on the same team, my bro. That's why I got your music playing. This one's called Black Pearls, if you're ever interested. So yeah, we remove the bolts. Give that one a little pluck out. That's cool. That's what you would have heard if they'd let me play the original audio. Let's see if I can find another Corey Red to entertain you guys with. What am I doing here? Alright, cool. So alright, let's put this one play. Everything's out. Ignition coils. Okay, spark plug socket. This one's a small one, 14mm with 12 points. And obviously that's going to fit the plug like that. Obviously you want a good extension. Usually 3/8 spark plug sockets. Make sure the spark plug tool is sitting correctly on the spark plug before you go to remove it. Removal is anti-clockwise. It's not advised to use impact tools when you're removing spark plugs, because impact tools will not determine how tight something is. It's just going to throw the same amount of torque to whatever it is regardless. So if it's loose, if it's tight, it doesn't mind. It doesn't know or doesn't care. If you break a spark plug in the bore, it's yeah, quite a big headache for everyone involved. So like I say, open it with your hands first, feel it. I'm using an impact ratchet, which is kind of, it's a mix of both, isn't it? So I'll always open them with my hands first, and then when I know that they're open, I'll zip them out with the impact. But you can, it's the same thing with a manual, it's just probably a little slower. So you'll see, you make sure it's sitting properly, get yourself a good angle, and then crack it open. When you're happy, if you're using an impact, then start to zip it. Alright, so where was we, man? Because I was slightly distracted. I'll get all the plugs out. So all the plugs are out, right? And then what we're doing now? Yeah, we're getting the new plugs. Can I even remember what I was saying here? Oh yeah, so I use maintenance spray on most things, to be fair. And then I was just saying that I just put a splash of maintenance spray on the threads of the plugs. It just helps them to catch easier when you're running them in. Makes a lot of mechanics easier for myself, I find. You should try it. And at the end of the ignition coil, I'll also put a splash of grease on the ignition coil just to prevent the sticking that I mentioned earlier. So a little dab of maintenance spray. And I do remember saying in the video, listen, a bit of maintenance spray in the bore ain't gonna harm anyone or anything. By the time that's down there and that, if it hasn't dried already, once you get the car running, it'll just pretty much evaporate. Alright, so yeah, we run the new spark plugs in. Ensure that you run them in with your hand. Make sure that you're sure before you then go to start using the tool. Once again, just same way you don't want to break a spark plug inside the bore, you don't want to cross thread it neither. There's not much repairs inside the bore. It's impossible to reach. You have to take the head off, and nobody wants that. Half the people that are doing spark plugs have never taken heads off in their life. So if you don't want to take a head off, then make sure you put the plugs in properly. If you run it in with your hands and you've got a good plug socket and tool, if you run it in with your hands a few threads, you go and now pull the plug tool out, like pull it towards you. The spark plug should stay in the bore. And then you'll have the tool alone in your hand, and then you'll know that it's caught thread, and then you can then start tightening it properly with the tool. So once again, you'll see I'll take the tool off the actual ratchet, run it in a few threads with your hand, make sure you're sure, and then obviously clockwise to tighten it. So I think I sped all this up, which is good, because I'm also getting I'm only joking. But yeah, pretty much reverse of removal. If you've got to this stage, you're just literally doing the reverse of what you did do. So there's me spraying a little bit of grease on the end of the ignition coils. It's just prevention, really. So when you're trying to remove the next time round, it's still a lot easier. There's me knocking the camera, and there's me putting it back. Shout out everyday process on this song, man. So listen, I'm putting the ignition coils back in. I think I took this one back out because I forgot to grease it. And I just splashed some grease on that. Listen, you missed my jokes about my watch, man. I was saying I came in wearing the watch and I forgot to take it off, and I'm not showing off like, look, I'm wearing Rolex. It's not even a Rolex. It's a what was it, Steve Madden or Tom Madden, one of those. So yeah, that weren't deliberate, man. I'm not trying to be like some fly mechanic with a gold watch. That's some fake gold. And don't be looking at me and judging. Only watch what my hands are doing. Maintenance spray in the bolt holes. Not necessary, but it's just easier for me, so I do it. Soon they'll endorse me and stuff. So I'm running these bolts back in with my hands. I'm going to push the ignition coils down, make sure they sit flush, as flush as you can. Obviously they're rubber, so they're a little bit springy, but you push them all the way down, make sure they're direct inside the bores, and then obviously the nuts, the 10mm bolts, sorry, once you tighten them, we'll just do the rest if it makes sense, and make sure it meets. So there's me tightening up the 10mm nuts, 10mm bolts, or I always get them mixed up. How long have I got left? Oh, almost there. Just another 10 minutes of my talking. Make sure you guys subscribe and like and stuff. I don't say it most times because I just can't be asked. But it's obvious, isn't it? That's how you're paying, because you're not paying for these videos. You just pay by subscription. If you enjoying the videos and you don't like and subscribe, it's kind of like theft. Because obviously it takes time and stuff to put them together. Like this. I put this video up so many times, man. I put it up and it was doing bits and I'm like, what? What's going on? Video's blocked. I'm like, what? How? And I've put it up again, it's just blocked instantly. I'm like, oh, so I pull it up silently without no music and they've let it play. They don't even communicate or contact you. Or maybe they do. Maybe I don't watch my emails. Who knows? But anyway, that's the plugs done. So now I've had to re-record it and I'm just having to comment through it. Alright, 20 minutes in, 8 minutes to go. Here's the induction air filter. I've put a bit of maintenance spray on the Jubilee clip that I'm about to remove. There's no need, but once again, it does make it easier. So obviously that's anti-clockwise. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a 7mm socket. Just open that till it's movable. I use the screwdriver to just pry the air hose off. Then I got a long Phillips screwdriver. I was slightly talking when I was going around the screws, but if you go back to the start of the video, you'll see me going round saying where the screws are. There's one there, probably one opposite it, one at the frontish where the air hose was, then probably one opposite that. I think it's 4 Phillip headed screws. So this is the induction air filter that we're replacing now. Yeah, I was saying you may need to unhook that sensor from where it's plugged in. I said you may or may not. But yeah, it turns out you really didn't need to. So then we run the screws out. There's 2. It's quite a big air box, quite a small air filter. Everyday Process, that's the name of this song. No, it's called Jesus Pride by Everyday Process. But I think the AI is probably going to pick it up and put the descriptions in the thing anyway. So I'm just running off the screwdrivers. Running off the Phillips screws with my screwdriver. Alright, so after you've got all the screws out, yeah, it's like a shell, or it splits in half. It's like a lid, let's say. And as you can see, we didn't need to pluck out that sensor. We flip it around and you can see the cartridge, and that's the component that we're going to replace. That one right there that I'm pointing to. So it's got this little silly little French device, and it's just it's not actually bad. Like, I was a bit unfamiliar, or maybe I'm not that unfamiliar, but so you see I've got a nice view. So you just got to squeeze. There's 2 tabs on each side. You can see the 2 arrows saying you squeeze them together, and then once you squeeze that, that's the release, and you just got to like pluck it up or pull the oil filter up. So the lock is behind that little ridge, and you see once you squeeze it, it releases and it should come up. But mine was a little bit sticky, and it was a little bit dark, and so I was struggling for a little bit until I got the light and realised that there was actually nothing holding it. If I had used my usual tools, which is lighter maintenance spray, I'm telling you, man, those things make a real difference for mechanics. I've been talking to my youths and that, and the first thing I see them there looking, it's dark as anything. What are you gonna see? I said, go get your light. So yeah, mine was just dry. I was wiggling it for a minute and 2. I was thinking, am I getting it right? Am I missing something? But just basically, so opposite to where my hands are, at the bottom where the actual air filter sits on the housing, it was just dry. Yeah, where my right hand is now, it was just dry. And so, because it's like rubbery, it was like stuck to the plastic, and that's why it weren't coming. If I saw that earlier, I would have just put a splash of spray on it, or I would have just give it a bit more of a tug. But yeah, that is the method. So you squeeze those 2 tabs in, and then just pretty much lift it up. You've got to lift it past that groove. If you've got your vehicle in front of you at this stage, it should be quite clear. So I had to get a light. I resorted to light. And this is another Corey Red, Resistance is Futile. This is a very good song of mine. Not mine, sorry. This is I was going to say a favourite of mine. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, as you can see, the light helped. So as I said, the method I described was correct. Mine was just a little bit dry. So you see the bottom of the air filter sits on that little base there, that round circle, which is obviously where the air comes in from the air pipe. So there's another description of how the locking tab works. So you squeeze it in and then you pluck it up. This is actually alright. The time flew by, man. I might do this on a lot of videos. So you can see a little bit of maintenance spray, that would have slipped straight down, but yeah, I don't do it on everything. But otherwise, you put it back into its place, squeeze the little tabs, and then it should lock into its place. And then you're good. But I was saying this is actually alright, because I've got a fresh perspective as well. Because obviously I just comment while I'm doing the work, but yeah, this has not been that bad. That time went quite quick. And obviously I can play you big boy rhythms like this in the background. So I'm just spraying the holes that I'm gonna run the screws back into. No need, but I do it sometimes. Yeah, I've got another video that I have to do this on anyway, because I did a EGR replacement, and then obviously putting the airbox cover back and whatnot is reversal removal. Put that back into place, running the screws. Don't tighten them all until they're all in. Just run them all in, like potentially, and then just tighten them all when they're all in. Pipe back, blah blah blah. Yeah, I've got another one, man, an EGR one. They said that I had the radio playing in the background and stuff, and then that's come up copyright. They're saying it's blocked in a few countries, but I think it's still playing. So I'm gonna re-record that one again. And then obviously don't forget that little pipe. Just be careful when you're taking it out. Just make sure you can see exactly how it's sitting. That was a bit fiddly, and I was faffing about for a minute or two. But it's not really difficult. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's your ignition coils. If you wanted to remove and replace your ignition coils on your Vauxhall Astra, Opel or Vauxhall Astra, I think it's a 1.4. Also, if you wanted to replace your spark plugs, it's the same procedure what you have just showed you. And then after that is the induction air filter. And that is, as you can see, the engine cover is not going back on without the oil cap being removed, so we've just removed that. And then after that, we just put the T30 or T25, whichever it was, back into its place. And that is job done. Alright, 20 seconds left, 10 seconds left, no, yeah, 10 seconds left. So this one is Resistance is Futile, Corey Red and Precise. That's the music playing in the background. But yeah, I hope that was helpful, man.